Hey, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Zach, and today we're going to be talking about the Inspiration 4 mission that's going to be launching 4 private citizens into space within the next couple of days. I think this mission is really important for the future and for everyday people like me and you, so let me explain why. Let's start with a little bit of background. Spaceflight's no longer just for professional government-trained astronauts. Everyday people like me and you are going to space. Now, a lot of the people going to space do have the money or connection to go, but this mission is an exception. 3 of the people on board had no plans whatsoever of going to space before getting the phone call telling them that they were. You might ask, why are we just having everyday people starting to go to space with this mission? And the reason is that the price of access to space keeps dropping and dropping as time goes on. With modern rockets like the SpaceX Falcon 9, we're looking at launch costs much lower than ever before. So, this mission specifically, they're going to be taking 4 passengers up to low Earth orbit in an orbit slightly higher than the space station. They are going to be flying on a Crew Dragon capsule riding on top of a Falcon 9 rocket. The Falcon 9 is a liquid oxygen and liquid kerosene powered rocket, 2-stage design, around 70 meters tall, 3.7 meters in diameter. The first stage is powered by 9 Merlin M1D engines, altogether generating around 770 tons of thrust. The second stage is powered by a single Merlin M1D vacuum engine, or MVAC for short. The Falcon 9 has had 123 flights, 83 landings, and 65 reflights of a booster. For this mission, they're going to be using the booster B-1062. This will be the 3rd flight of the booster after completing 2 GPS missions previously. They're going to be spending 3 days in orbit and then splashing back down either off the coast of Florida or in the Gulf of Mexico, depending on the weather conditions. For this mission, they came up with 4 pillars, and these pillars kind of represent human traits: leadership, hope, prosperity, and generosity. And each of the crew members were selected because they represent one of these pillars. For example, the first passenger is Jarek Isaacman, and he's going to be the spacecraft commander, representing the pillar of leadership. He's the guy who financed this mission, he runs a company, he's also an experienced pilot. He wrote the checks for the mission and came up with a lot of the ideas around the passenger selection. Now, you have to give him some kudos because he could have just taken some friends on this mission. He has the resources and he could have done it, but instead he partnered up with St. Jude in an attempt to raise $200 million for the Children's Hospital. And he gave 3 people the chance to experience something that's once in a lifetime. The second passenger is Haley Arcanow. She's going to be the chief medical officer, and she's going to be representing the pillar of hope. She's really an amazing woman. If you read about her, she is a physician's assistant at St. Jude Childrens Hospital. She's also a former childhood cancer patient. The whole experience made her want to grow up and help people that are in the same situation that she once found herself in. Also, she's going to be the first person in space with a prosthetic. And upon her return, NASA's going to make a determination on if they're going to allow future astronauts with prosthetics to go to space. The third passenger is Christopher Sambrowski. He's going to be a mission specialist. He donated to St. Jude to be entered into a raffle to win a seat. A friend of his actually won the raffle, but for personal reasons couldn't be on it, and he ended up giving up the seat to his friend. He is also an Air Force veteran and currently working as a data engineer. Then we have Siam Proctor. She is the final passenger on the flight, representing the pillar of prosperity. Her role in the flight is she is going to be a pilot. She is an entrepreneur and was selected by a panel of judges to be on this flight. She is also a geologist and a science communicator. And she's going to be the 4th African American woman to ever go to space. Really quickly, I want to go through the mission timeline. I'm just going to read it off from my computer. Excuse me for looking away at the camera. At 42 minutes before flight, the crew access arm is going to retract. 37 minutes before the flight, the launch escape system will arm. This allows them to escape away from an exploding booster anytime from fueling all the way up until orbit. Then around 35 minutes before the flight, they're going to start loading propellant. Then at T-minus 45 seconds, the launch director is going to give the final go. At T-minus 3 seconds, we will have ignition, followed shortly by takeoff. Then at about 1 minute and 2 seconds into the flight, the vehicle will experience maximum aerodynamic pressure, and this is one of the most dangerous parts of the flight because the vehicle is experiencing max loading. At about 2 minutes and 36 seconds, we'll have MECO, or main engine cutoff, followed shortly by stage separation, and then second stage ignition. At about 7.5 minutes into the flight, the booster will relight its engines for its entry burn. This slows it down a little bit before it gets back into the thick parts of the atmosphere to avoid excessive re-entry heating. Then with the second stage, we have SECO at about 8 minutes and 47 seconds into the flight. This is the second stage engine cutoff. After this, it will simply coast for a bit before releasing the Crew Dragon capsule to go on its way into its orbit. At about 9 minutes and 3 seconds into the flight, you'll see the booster light up its engines for the final time for the landing burn. Should last about 28 seconds, and you'll see the booster landing back on the autonomous drone ship. And the final major event is around 11 minutes and 58 seconds. The Crew Dragon will separate from the second stage of the Falcon 9 and go on its way into orbit. Now, I just want to quickly talk about risk. Of course, there's always going to be some risk in spaceflight. It's a pretty harsh environment. You have explosive fuels. You have very high forces on launch and re-entry. You have very high heating. And of course, space isn't a very hospitable place for humans. But with the right engineering, you can mitigate a lot of these risks. Also, spaceflight is no longer just for governments. Reusability is allowing companies to build cheaper rockets. It will most likely be cheaper to launch an entire starship, which is fully reusable, than to launch even the smallest expendable rocket, thus bringing the cost per seat of space travel down drastically further than it ever has been before. There are a few other things that really need to happen to help this cost get down low enough. Regulatory reform is one of those things that everyone always talks about, but it never seems to happen, or at least it happens very slowly. I think eventually human spaceflight should become more like airlines are now today, where there is still oversight, but you can very quickly file a flight plan, get it cleared, and get on your way and get into space. If we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of humans on the ground dedicated to every single space mission, no matter what we do, the price to actually fly humans to space is never going to come down to reasonable levels, no matter how much work we put into it. Regulatory reform, as a result, is critical to this new space future that we all want to see. Anyway, let's get back to this flight. It should be flying September 15th. You can check it out live on the Netflix YouTube channel. Netflix is releasing a docuseries called Countdown: Inspiration for Mission to Space. At the time of filming, I believe already 4 episodes have been released. I've seen the first 2, and honestly, I really enjoyed them. And then September 30th, they're going to release the final episode. The price of going to space will drop low enough to where this could be me or this could be you flying on this flight. And I really feel like this is the first step towards that future, and really why I feel like this mission is going to be historic. There's only one chance you have to actually watch this live, so I highly suggest you take it. I want to thank you for tuning into this video. If you enjoyed it, I would really appreciate you leaving a like down below. Most importantly, please go check out the St. Jude webpage. Are you going to be tuning in live to the launch? I know I will be. I'm very excited about it, and I hope you are too. It's been a lot of fun, but I gotta go. I hope you stay safe. Peace.